Well, they served us, and now we're told action is being taken to better serve them. On Monday, right here on To The Point, we reported on a Stockton building that was housing homeless veterans. The building, it was closed due to poor conditions, and now our reporting has caught the attention of a local congressman who is calling for more beds in the county to open up. So I want to go ahead and bring in Becca Habegger now to explain this, because I really want to break down what exactly is happening with this building.
Yeah, it's important to understand dozens of homeless veterans are now displaced. That's the bottom line. That's after a 3-story building in downtown Stockton that has been housing homeless veterans since 2011 closed its doors. A Stockton organization called Dignity's Alcove operates the housing and provided meals and supportive services. The director tells us the building is in desperate need of proper heating. Plaster is falling off the ceiling in some rooms. We saw water damage and exposed pipes there when our reporter Kurt Rivera toured it on Monday. Dignity's Alcove claims the property owner has not made any of these repairs despite frequent requests, so the organization stopped paying rent back in October. When repairs still weren't made, the organization then went to the city of Stockton, which did shut the building down. The landlord now has until March 1st to make repairs. Then the city will reinspect it. But in the meantime, around 30 veterans now find themselves displaced at temporary housing across several counties.
The building is in dire need of repair, dire need. It's understandable but regrettable.
It's my home. This was my home. And the conditions in there are bad. I'm just trying to live again, you know.
You know, Alex, I spoke today with the director of Dignity's Alcove. She says since our story aired on Monday, the landlord has started some repairs inside the building and to the roof.
And Becca, I want to talk about this because let's talk about action for a second. That brings us to Representative Josh Harder, because he says that he's now taking action because of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh Harder says because of our reporting, he and his team were alerted to the urgent situation facing these displaced veterans.
We originally saw the coverage that you guys did to highlight what was going on with these veterans, and we heard from our veteran housing advocate community as well. No person who has served our country in uniform should be sleeping on the streets, and yet we still have across our community about 200 homeless veterans every single day. That's unacceptable. We made a big step forward when we were able to get Victory Gardens up and running. We were able to do the opening for that just a little while ago, but what we saw at Dignity is that's not good enough.
So he mentioned a success, a place called Victory Gardens.
Yeah, so we wanted to look a little bit more into that. Victory Gardens, it's a new government-funded housing facility for homeless veterans under the Housing Authority of the County of San Joaquin. You know, it opened back in the fall and is currently about 80% full, with a plan to be at full capacity and offering full services come April. Victory Gardens is a 48-unit facility, and in a press release yesterday, Representative Harder called on Victory Gardens to expand to meet the needs of unhoused veterans in the wake of the news of the closure of Dignity's Alcove. I asked the Housing Authority about this, and they said they have no comment about Harder's statement. They did say the veterans who live at Victory Gardens come via referral from the Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program in partnership with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
All right. Of course, you already know we'll be keeping our eye on this. Becca will be following it. Becca, as always, thank you so much. All right. So we recently visited Stockton near Victory Gardens to see a new Stockton VA clinic that is under construction. It is expected to open in French Camp just later this year and be open to a lot more veterans and their needs, in part because of the country's new PACT Act.
This has been a long time coming for veterans that live in the Stockton area. This clinic is a full-service outpatient clinic, specialty care, so medicine specialties, surgery specialties. Our mental health team will be present, dental clinic, audiology and hearing aid, optometry and eye clinic care. There's about 10,000 veterans enrolled here for care in Stockton. There's another 10,000 in Modesto, and there's about 3,000 in Sonora. So 23,000 current users, but the expectation is we open a new clinic, it's more convenient, more veterans will enroll and get their care here than ever before. The environmental health screening is available to all new enrolled veterans under the PACT Act. One of the interesting rules in the PACT Act, every veteran that set foot in Vietnam from 1962 to 1975 is now eligible to come to the VA. They don't have to file a disability claim. Their income level doesn't matter. They're now eligible to come and get care at the VA.
For now, the current VA hospital is open until this new one does open up. We have linked more information about the PACT Act on our website. All you have to do is just go to abc10.com/to-the-point if you want to learn more about it. And by the way, you can always keep up with not just this story, but other stories that we're working on by joining our new To The Point text group. All you have to do is just scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your smartphone. It'll write you up a quick text that just says that you'd like to join the text group. You just hit send. We'll keep you in the loop. And as always, you can share story ideas. We always love hearing from you. Okay, on to gas prices. Remember how our gas prices just kept going up last summer? Some places even charged $8 a gallon, and then they went back up at the start of this year. And then the governor made a plan to lower them and hold oil companies responsible. Okay, lawmakers are just now getting together to talk about all that. But there is still no plan for accountability. Today's hearing in downtown Sacramento was informational, and there are still a lot of details missing in the governor's plan. I mean, oil companies say California's environmental policies are the cause of high gas prices. And then the governor's administration, of course, they disagree with that. But one gas association says that there's another big factor, too.
The cost of crude oil. Cost of crude oil is the single biggest factor. And that, of course, we have no control over. Under perfect circumstances, we'd like to produce it all here. Why? Because it's under the strictest environmental regulations in the world. And so when we can't do that, when we're limited on production of crude oil here, very difficult to get permits in the state of California to produce crude oil. There are no pipelines that bring crude oil to the state. So you would ask, where does it come from? It has to be put on a tanker.
No joke, this meeting went on for hours today. Public comment was still happening about 15 minutes before we came on air. Of course, this is a story that we will always continue to cover. All right, after the break, the fate of a new dispensary. It's been decided. Can it live in harmony with a rehab center in the same shopping plaza? We'll find out. A new South Sacramento cannabis dispensary got the green light from City Council to open near a drug rehab center. They will be in the same shopping plaza. The owner of the rehab center says that the dispensary is problematic for its patients. Luke Cleary has the details from last night's hours-long City Council meeting where leaders had to balance cannabis entrepreneurship and its effects on people recovering from substance abuse.
Diamond House Detox, a substance abuse treatment center. To the left, a proposed cannabis dispensary.
Now they open next door for drugs. I don't think they make sense.
Diamond House founder Vicky Magobe bringing an appeal, hoping the city would deny the approval of the dispensary founded by Lucretia Young.
I don't have anything against cannabis dispensaries in general. I think a lot of people do use it recreationally and very responsibly. But for my clients, that a lot of them are struggling with that substance.
In a long and emotional hearing.
Our location is very low key. It is very easy to buy a dispensary and smoke in our parking lot right around the corner from it. And it's just, you know, like the smell, it's triggering.
Testimony from both sides.
I'm just hoping, you know, we're able to make history tonight, you know, during this Black History Month. And I'm hoping that we get that yes approval. Thank you for your time.
And in the end,
and therefore I support the denial of this appeal.
Young's dispensary gets the green light.
Congratulations, Ms. Young.
City Council voting to deny the appeal.
I am feeling amazing. I am very appreciative. I am filled with gratitude right now.
Her application through the Sacramento Core program created to help people facing barriers starting cannabis businesses. She says she understands the concerns next door.
And I'm willing to be educated by them because they have an expertise in an industry that I'm bringing to a community.
And Young is just one of 2 Black women to receive permits under the Sacramento Core program. The process of bringing the dispensary to fruition has been years in the making, and there are still more steps to be taken before it can open. All right, after the break, Chris Thomas hears from former NAACP President Ben Jealous, his experience in the capital city, and what comes next. Here are some other stories that people are talking about today. The victims of Sunday's deadly plane crash in Grass Valley, they have been identified. The Nevada County Sheriff's Office says the pilot was 63-year-old Loren William from Nevada City. He was with 55-year-old Nicole Chandru from Grass Valley. The FAA and NTSB are investigating this crash. And I have some good news if you're an In-N-Out person like me and Carly. Elk Grove is getting another location. It's going to be 7620 Elk Grove. About 80 people will be employed and wages start at $19 an hour. The owner says this location opening up tomorrow. And everyone is getting ready for the low elevation snow heading our way. Students in foothill school districts like Placer and El Dorado, they may get a snow day today or even Friday. And most schools will be making a decision around 5:30 in the morning. So Carly, we know every kid is pretty much going to be watching the news.
Yeah, we know that. Early tomorrow morning, we're seeing some of the snow levels dropping down to as low as about 1,000 feet. And also continuing into Friday, we could see that very low snow expected. Take a look here at our maps. You see low pressure system pushed through yesterday, brought in some strong winds for us. Now, we're taking note of this low pressure system dropping in through the overnight hours. Along with it, we've already seen some scattered showers in the valley, as well as some of that snow falling for the Sierra. Now, we do have a winter storm warning that is in effect in that pink shade, as well as a wind advisory here until 4 p.m. on Friday. The impacts, very strong winds up to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Now, this could cause power outages if some trees end up falling over, even those limbs and branches attached to those power lines. So get ready for that potential. Now, winter storm warning until Friday, 12 p.m. in pink. Now, this is what's important, and I want you to take note of. A lot of the surrounding foothills, seeing that we've pretty much been used to that, but it's areas along I-5 north that could even see some areas of snowflakes falling here, 1 to even a couple inches here, 2-3 inches or so, especially closer to Red Bluff and Redding. Now, you're saying, wow, I see Tracy Triangle, Stockton, and Modesto in that zone. Well, it's pretty unlikely that we will see snow at that level, but we cannot rule out the fact that it is cold enough to potentially produce a few flakes dropping for that area. So we're keeping our eye on that system. Let's talk about the low snow. The levels dropping here in the overnight early morning hours, as well as Friday morning. We could even see them as low as 500 feet, meaning that dusting may be dropping, but maybe not sticking. Now, as we take a look, we'll see as much as 1 to 3 feet for the highest elevations, but 1 to 2 feet is more likely for anything really above 3,000 feet. As we also take a look at the rainfall, because that's going to be happening for our area, we're seeing mostly a pretty nice Thursday. 7 a.m. You're actually starting off with some sunshine, increasing cloud coverage once again in the afternoon, bringing us those scattered showers and snow showers in the Sierra. Then Friday really dropping down. Check that out. You're saying, well, isn't that snow? That could possibly be a nice little mix happening like what we saw earlier today. Some graupel in our area, as well as some hail fell throughout the Sacramento area down to Stockton. Is there potential for some thunderstorm chances? And then we'll continue to see that system pushing out by Friday evening. Rain could be as much as a ½ inch to an inch of rain across the valley spots through Saturday morning. So as from now through Saturday morning, we could see as much as about an inch of rain. Looking at that 10-day forecast, Thursday, we do have some potential for thunderstorm chances, but also that rain and snow and that low elevation snow there for Friday morning as well. A quick break after around 10 a.m. on Saturday, partly sunny by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're also still looking at another system approaching, bringing us more rain to the forecast.
This Black History Month and all year round, we are telling stories that affect our Black communities. Tonight, our Chris Thomas is catching up with distinguished civil rights activist Ben Jealous.
Grab a seat. We're here at Underground Books in Sacramento's Oak Park neighborhood. It's a packed house with crowds looking forward to hearing civil rights leader Ben Jealous, the youngest ever former national president of the NAACP.
You know, it's good to be home in Northern California. This block seems like the Wakanda of Sacramento.
Yeah, he's just released a new book called Never Forget Our People Were Always Free, a parable of American healing. The son of a white father and a black mother is using the book to share his own personal story of overcoming the challenges of racism and inequality.
My parents moved out to Northern California because their marriage had been against the law in Maryland. They wanted to raise their kids in a place where there was a better chance of their family being accepted and their kids not facing discrimination and hatred in the schools.
Jealous says it was the January 6th Capitol attack that inspired him to write the book. He's hoping to encourage people from all walks of life to come together.
And I decided that I needed to write a book that would speak to as many Americans as possible about the urgent need and possibility for us to come together, the interest of healing our country, but also creating a better country for all our kids.
The former NAACP president says it was actually his experience at the Capitol in Sacramento that helped launch his civil rights career.
I'd grown up going to civil rights protests. I've organized a lot since, but the first protest I ever helped organize was an anti-clear cutting rally here in Sacramento. And my first order of business at the NAACP was launching our climate justice program.
Jealous says he hopes to leave readers with 3 big lessons from his book. Number 1, that we can end racism. And the path to do that is to truly be like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he says. And finally, he calls for building, quote, uncomfortably large coalitions.
If you're comfortable in your coalition, then your coalition is too small. In times like these, it's so easy for us to figure out what we disagree with people on. What's far more urgent in a democracy is to find the 1, maybe 2 things we can agree on and then go get that done.
He points to his work here in the capital city with Democrats and Republicans on things like prison reform.
And I work with Governor Schwarzenegger out here to ban the box, to change employment forms in California state government so that people who had paid their debt to society still have a fair shot at a public job.
His next mission, tackling climate change as executive director of the Sierra Club.
In a lot of places, that seems odd for a black guy to run a green group. It's never happened. There's never been a major environmentalist organization led by a black person ever in the United States.
Ben Jealous, back home in Northern California, making history and hoping to inspire others to come together with a brand new book.
Fundamentally, this book is a call to people to listen to their neighbors, to recognize that their neighbors aren't just the people who agree with them. They're also the people who they think don't agree with them. And yet have the faith that if they just sit down and listen to each other, again, they'll find that they have far more in common than they don't. And there's actually more than one thing they can agree on. And that creates the opportunity for us to force the politicians to actually do big things again.
And anchor Chris Thomas joining us now. First time onto The Point, right?
Yeah, one of the first. Yeah, I was just here earlier this week.
Oh, that's right. I was on a little vacation.
You take a little time.
Exactly.
Much deserved
Oh,
time.
thank you. Now, it was actually part of the speaker series in Oak Park at Underground Books, right?
Mm-hmm, indeed. It was an opportunity for people to hear a priceless conversation from someone who's really making a difference. It was an hour-long conversation. They had a chance for Q&A in a very intimate setting. And today, actually, they had Chef Q, who has a restaurant out in Roseville and was also a White House chef, go and talk with the students over at Sac High.
Oh, I love that. Man, I would love to have listened to that.
Yeah.
All right, and I do want to mention that Ben Jealous, he talks about his father who was white. I mean, he really served as his inspiration, right?
Yeah. So here's the deal. His father was abused as a child and was later disowned by his family for marrying Ben Jealous's mother, who was black, back in 1966. So he created a 12-step program to help people who are abusive, often violent men, break the cycle of domestic abuse. Ben says his dad never played the victim.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Hope to see you again soon.
You will.
All right, we'll be right back after this break. A man in Dixon is making sure that his ancestors are remembered as people, not property. And that's the story that we're working on for tomorrow. We are sharing the story of a black genealogist who is researching slave deeds, because during the slavery era, enslaved people were considered property by law. Slave deeds, like a bill of sale, legally transferred ownership of the so-called property from one person to the next.
So individuals could come to California to be free, but potentially also be brought back into bondage, because a bill of sale said somebody owned this individual, and that was binding.
Slave owners use these sorts of handwritten receipts to carefully document the selling, buying, renting, or gifting of enslaved people. Our race and culture reporter Candace Redd is looking at this history in people, not property. You can catch that tomorrow on To the Point. You don't want to miss it. And yesterday we talked about the state of downtown Sacramento. Our city leaders say that things are looking up after people and businesses left during the pandemic. But a business owner we spoke to is not quite as optimistic. And we also heard from a viewer too, and we want to share what they said. They wrote in telling us, as a property manager of a building on that K Street corridor, it has definitely seen a slight uprise, but the area still feels ignored by anyone not building new condos. So again, thank you so much for writing in, giving us your insight into this issue. We always love hearing from you, so thanks for writing in. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. We hope you have a great night. We'll see you again. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.